So guess what? This is from the World Bank. They say that COVID-19 is going to plunge the global economy into the worst recession since World War II. Can we just call it a depression? It's a depression. The press just doesn't want to call it that, so they move to the goal, keep moving the goalpost. But it's a depression. That's how it's a depression. So here is Yanis. Now, how do you say his last name?
Varoufakis?
Yanis Varoufakis. Now, he used to be the finance minister in Greece. He's a very smart guy, very progressive. Unfortunately, well, here's what he had to say. Now, you remember in Greece that they had their third party was polling at like 4%, and then within like 4 years they took over the government. Just so you know. So he was asked to give his thoughts on the Joe Biden presidency, him becoming president, and watch this. Here we go.
Do I see the prospect of a very thin marginal victory by Joe Biden as the worst possible outcome?
So I don't know if you heard what he just said, but a thin margin of victory for Joe Biden, and he wins the election. Joe Biden winning the election by a thin margin is the worst possible outcome. He means worse than if Donald Trump won. Well, let's listen.
In contrast to the Trumpist right, which is going to be united, radicalized, and...
So he's saying, as opposed to the Trump side, which is going to be radicalized and organized, the Democrats are not going to be. The progressives aren't going to be. That's what he's saying. Which
is going to be united, radicalized, to the Trumpist right, which is going to be united, radicalized.
Trumpist right, which is going to be united and radicalized.
And also strengthened and reinforced by the fact that they are going to be in opposition.
So they're going to be super strengthened in the next 2 to 4 years, the Trumpists right.
Not to mention the fact that the next 2 years are going to see a Great Depression descending upon the United States, which is going to energize their opposition.
So the depression that's coming, and Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi refuse to help people with it, this is going to energize Trump's base.
In contrast to that, think of our side. We will have spent the last few months arguing amongst our own progressives that always saw Biden, quite correctly, as the representative of big business, that nevertheless they should hold their nose and vote for Biden because of the Green New Deal. And now there will be no Green New Deal.
The Green New Deal that he opposes. There will be no Green New Deal because Joe Biden opposed it. Okay.
We'll have, in other words, have helped put in the White House a president who is acting simply on behalf of big business, if he's acting at all, given the paralysis of the administration in view of the fact that it's not controlling the Senate.
So he's saying if Joe Biden acts at all, he will be acting at the behest of corporations. If he acts at all. That's what he just said.
Had Trump won the White House, I would have been mourning, of course, but at least Democrats would be facing 2 or 4 years of radicalization, of rethinking and reorganizing. But now, the next 2 years will be a period during which only the Trumpists are going to be organizing.
Only the Trumpists are going to be organizing.
We, progressives, are going to have to be defending a president who does not want to be in the same camp as us against big business. As for the rest of the world, I very much fear the neocons that sided with Biden and who will be returning to the Pentagon and the State Department. I hope those fears are proven false.
Let me just tell you, the reason why the neocons sided with Joe Biden, and this might be surprising, is because Joe Biden is a neocon. Just so you know, you voted for a neocon if you voted for Joe Biden.
Pleased that the Bolsonaros, Modis, Le Pen, Salvinis and the rest of the nationalist, xenophobic internationale are going to lose their great supporter in the White House. But at the same time, we have, let us not forget, the radical center back in control of the White House and the Pentagon. And
the radical center, he calls them. He calls Joe Biden the radical center. Radical. Why are they radical? Well, because somehow you can be in the center of American politics and still be for denying people health care and can be considered. That's radical. It's not radical to give people health care. It's radical to do what Joe Biden and the Democrats are doing, which is to deny people health care. That's radical. So that's why he calls him the radical center, because Joe Biden is radical.
They have a very sorry record of interventions, of military adventures. I hope that they do not jeopardize the only good thing that Trump did on the international stage, which is effectively not to start a new war. With greetings from Greece.
So he's hoping that they don't undo the only good thing Trump did, which was not start a new war. Oh, don't worry. I'm sure Joe Biden won't start a new war. They have their plans already. They're going to do Syria. They're going to do Venezuela. Just get ready. Who knows what's going to happen in Somalia? We're in Somalia. You know that, right? We're in the Sudan. We're in Somalia. We're in Libya. Back in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. We're everywhere, baby, to help stabilize. That's why. So here he ends by saying,
and the sincere hope that Joe Biden is going to prove me wrong. This is Yanis Varoufakis on behalf of DN25. Carpe diem. Let's continue the struggle. We have a lot to do.
Can I just tell you, Biden will not prove you wrong, but hopefully a mass of movement of people will prove you wrong and stop Joe Biden from doing the wars. Hopefully. We'll see. So that guy, super smarty pants guy, I just thought when I heard him, when he said the worst possible outcome was Joe Biden winning by a thin margin, and I'm like, whoa. And then he explains his thinking. It's obviously true what he's saying. It's obviously true that the Trump right is going to be radicalized and united. And they're going to be the one that builds up steam, and the left is just going to be fucked now. But we've been fucked for 40 years, so it's nothing new. The chance that the progressives had in Congress to help you was during the CARES Act, because the richest oligarchs wanted their $5 trillion. And if Bernie Sanders and the squad would have tried to push back against it, they could have got you something. They didn't. They were told to vote for it and to shut up, and they did. AOC gave a speech where she said it was a shitty bill, where it gave us crumbs, but she only said it was the Republicans' fault. And again, the fault was Nancy Pelosi's. That was a bill negotiated by Chuck Schumer and passed by Nancy Pelosi. So AOC will get up and scream about how horrible this bill is, then vote for it, and not call out her own leadership. Bernie Sanders won't even talk about how horrible it is. He'll bullshit you to think he got you unemployment insurance in that bill. He did not. And then he votes for it. Instead of being against it, instead of putting a hold on it, instead of doing anything, Bernie Sanders was a failure. That's the nicest thing I could say about Bernie Sanders, is that he is a failure. Hey, everybody, this is the part where I tell you where all our live shows are, but there aren't any. And then this is why I tell you to join our premium program and get extra content, but nobody's got a fucking job. So just enjoy the video.